Okay, so I was saying that my research team is led by Professor Barbara, who is a developmental psychology too, and our topic usually involves this kind of children. So let's begin with the issue. So why background noise? Because recent investigation, recent studies affirm that specifically in Italy, but it's a phenomenon that it's all around the world, but specifically in Italy, almost all schools, specifically primary schools, do not meet the acoustic standards that are necessary to mitigate the effect of background noise on learning. And so we can see why this is why studying background noise is relevant to us, because different studies show that whether if it's the chronic exposition to noise like road traffic, air traffic, have a detrimental effect on all learning, so on reading, writing, mathematics, but also acute noise exposition. So for example, when we are doing some tasks in a noisy environment, like in a bar, in a restaurant, or in a very crowded room. And so especially when noise is verbal, we find that this kind of noise has a detrimental effect, specifically on memory and attention. And this is an effect that is relevant for everyone, but this is specifically true for deaf children with cochlear implants or hearing aids, because they already have some more difficulties than their normal hearing peers when it comes to speech and noise perception. And this is due to the specific to the device that they use to improve their perception, their sound perception. So like, for example, like cochlear implants or hearing aids. And this is because these devices are not fully able nowadays to filter, like our brain does, to filter what is relevant to what is not. So even though they are amazing devices, because they let people with profound hearing loss to be able to listen, it's to listen, especially in quiet condition. In noise, we still have some problems, and so even though if the users, even though people are extremely good into speech perception in quiet, this is not so. This is not what happens in noise. So it's something that we have to take care of, and we have to address for research. So what we decided to do was to, in our study, is to investigate how background noise, specifically how multi-talker bubble noise, so a kind of verbal noise, can affect cognitive abilities like executive functioning, like working memory, attention, or inhibition control, and to see if these effects are different in normal hearing children and in deaf children with cochlear implants. So we recruited 12 cochlear implant users from a speech rehabilitation center, and 44 typically developing children from different primary schools in Italy. And the two groups were similar for age and for age range, and also quite similar for the gender distribution. And it is important to remind that all the deaf users were had an early implantation, and this is crucial because we know that the earlier the implantation, the activation of the cochlear implant, the better are the outcomes of their speech development. So it's important to take care of this variable. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to assess their cognitive skills into acoustic situations, so in quiet and in noisy situation. And how did we do that? We developed an app which is called COEN, which stands for Cognitive Effort in Noise, that contains 6 neuropsychological tests that we adapted in a game-like application, because our main target, of course, are children, are primary school children. So we needed to find a way to entertain them and to engage them with the tasks, but also to be able to precisely collect all these measures. So what we did was to create this app that contains itself not only this test, but also the noise that we want to administer. So at the beginning of the app, of the first screens, you can choose whether to administer or not the noise, the multi-talker bubble noise, and also at which level of intensity we want to use. And these psychological tests aim to assess verbal working memory and visual attention and inhibitory control. And I will show you right now some examples. So let's begin with the first tasks assess verbal working memory. So we adapted the very famous, very well-known DigiSpan task, both forward and backward, and the ReadSpan test, which was adapted in Italian. So what we did was, I will show you a brief video, some digits. The digits were showed on the screen, and children has to just type on the keyboard on the iPad to recall which number they have saw. And for the forward condition, while for the backward condition is the same thing, but in the opposite way. We also adapted an Italian ReadSpan test, and so I don't know if you are familiar with it, but the main task that they have to do is children are presented with very short sentences, and they have to do 2 things. The first one is to understand the meaning of the sentence and to answer to true or false statement. And the other task that they have to do, which is the most important for us, is that they have to keep in mind only the last word of each sentence, and they come in sets. So you will see like 2 sentences, 3 sets of 2, 3, 4, or 5 sentences. So I will show you a brief video here. Okay, here it says the mouse eats the cheese, so they have to remember the word cheese and to understand also the meaning in order to answer correctly the true or false statement. Then the next two game were made to assess visual selective and sustained attention. So we adapted two tasks to attention tasks, and they are quite similar in the sense that they are both research game. So in the first one, they have these two faces, which are the targets that remains on the screen during all the tests, and they have just to select which among all other characters, they have to select which one are the same, corresponds to the target. While in the other game, it's the most the most fun for them, and because they have different type of things and of objects, and they have just to select the animals, so only the animals. Of course, these two tasks are timed, so they have to be accurate, but also they have to be fast. And there are several pages of this task, so it's quite difficult. And the last task aims to assess inhibitory skills. And so we have a first congruent condition where a red heart is presented, and they have to press on the arrow that goes in the same direction of the heart. So in this case, to the right and to the left. The second part, the second trial, is in an incongruent condition, because when they see the violet, the purple flower, they have to press the key, the arrow, on the opposite side. So they have to learn a new kind of rule. And then we have the last session, which has the two conditions combined. So whether they have to remember the two rules, and they are presented with both items, both pictures. At the end of the administration, of both administration, we also gave them a self-report questionnaire that was adapted in Italian from a work by Bess, and that aims to evaluate children listening efforts, so how tired they feel after they completed all the tasks. And these tasks aim to assess not only their physical distress, like I feel tired or my head hurts, but also their cognitive efforts, so related to the tasks that they have just completed, like so the exercise were easy, or if I had troubles to remember. And also the last item was meant to evaluate if how they perceived, how annoying they perceived noise was perceived. So if they were distracted, if they felt distracted by noise. And these figures were just put there to help them to visualize the scale, and the higher the score, the higher was the perceived effort. And regarding the acoustic condition, so I told you that we administered this up twice, once in quiet and once in a noisy condition. And the noise was the one I will show you now. So as you can hear, it's a multi-talker bubble noise, so it's like being in a bar or in a very crowded room, but it's unintelligible. So actually, you know, it's people talking, but you cannot understand words in the context. You cannot understand what they are saying. And we administered noise at 65 decibel of intensity, and the order of the administration was a counterbalance. So one kid started with a quiet condition, and then 1 or 2 weeks later did the other assessment in noise, while another, the next kid did the opposite. And the two administration were administered at least at 1 week apart, because we needed to, we thought it would lead to a better control of the learning effect, so they wouldn't be affected by a learning effect of the app. So I will show you now some preliminary results, preliminary data, and just because, as you saw, the sample is quite small. We just started to collect some data, so it's just exploration, some explorative analysis. Here I reported the mean values, the mean scores, and with the standard deviation of both groups in the quiet condition. You will see that the Redispan test wasn't considered because at the time we collected this data, we found that the data weren't reliable enough due to some problems with the device, with the iPad itself, with the keyboard of the iPad. So we weren't so sure, we weren't able to be sure of our data. So we tried to, we just didn't analyze that. So you see here from just the mean that on average, the children, typically developing children, had better performances in the quiet condition, on at better performances than the children with cochlear implants in almost all tests except for the inhibition test. But if we run some non-parametric analysis, we see that the difference is significant only for the two verbal working memory tasks, so both DigiSpan tasks. And this is something that we kind of were expecting due to the literature, what we know about the literature and the difficulties that deaf children have with verbal working memory tasks. If we see also the data in the noisy condition, we see a similar pattern. So that is also confirmed by non-parametric statistics. So in both noise and quiet, we see that children, typically developing children, had a significantly higher performance than deaf children in the verbal working memory tasks. When we are looking at the within group differences, so we want to see for each group the difference between the quiet and the noise condition, which is what actually we want to investigate. We see that reality, we have no significant difference here for the typically developing children, and also for children with cochlear implants. But some interesting results comes from the self-report questionnaire. So what we see is that the typically developing children experienced significantly more effort in noise than in quiet, while this is not the same for children with cochlear implants, which was kind of unexpected for us due to what I told you before, and what it has been said on, in the literature. So what we are thinking is that, just to recap, we expected that children with cochlear implants had significantly lower scores than their peers, than their normal hearing peers in verbal working memory tasks. So this is in line with what we thought and what we already see in literature. But these results at the same time suggest that both groups seem to be unaffected by this kind of noise. So what we think it could have happened. One possible reason could be that maybe noise intensity wasn't sufficiently high to distract these children from tasks. And we used 65 decibel because we didn't want to distress also children so much, but we saw that in other similar in other studies on this topic, they also the intensity can reach up to 70 to 75 decibels, which I remind you, it's quite a big difference, because 5 decibel of difference, since the sound scale is a logarithmic scale, means really a lot. So even just maybe high, maybe try to level up the intensity, the noise intensity, maybe could bring to a different outcome. But if we thought that if noise wasn't distractful enough, if we shouldn't have also like the perception, the self-perception of noise as a distractor shouldn't be should have been different, because we saw that typically developing children reported to be significantly affected by noise in terms of perceived listening effort. What we thought an explanation for this could be, first of all, as you know, when you are administering a questionnaire, especially with kids, with children, there is the examiner bias. So they are trying to maybe do a good impression, and to with the examiner, they could have and also maybe they didn't understand very well the items of the self-report, because it wasn't, they weren't questions, direct questions, they were statements, and they have to like agree which at which level they felt bothered by noise or by the tasks. So maybe putting these items in a different way, since we are talking about 7 years older or 8 years older, could have lead to other kind of outcomes. And also we know that whether it's true that deaf children with cochlear implants report to be to have more difficulties in speech in noise conditions. We know that, but we also know that they are followed by speech therapists, audiologists, since they are very young, and they are used to be evaluated in a noisy condition when they do their checkups, and they have to do like their audiometric tests and their speech in noise perception tests. So maybe we thought that they could have been like used to this kind of evaluation, which is something which is more similar to audiologic evaluation than the classroom like maybe condition. And also another issue is that the noise that we use, that you heard before, wasn't intelligible. And this could have been, this is a really important issue, because maybe what could have happened is that this kind of noise wasn't relevant enough for them, because it became like more of like a white noise, like something that is stable, that is without some peaks, without any kind of distraction, which is not what actually happens in real life. Because even if you're in a crowd, you still are able to get some words for like the cocktail party effect. So if something is relevant for you, your name, or something you know, you are distracted by this kind of noise, or even because someone is shouting and or some other kind of noise. So this could have been really an important like this could be an issue that we have to take care of. So maybe using another kind of noise that is more meaningful and that can compete directly with verbal working memory. And lastly, something that we thought is that maybe seeing that children had the same performances in both quiet and noise doesn't mean necessarily that they are putting the same effort, because we know that one classical way to assess how to assess listening and cognitive effort is to check up for behavioral measures, so to how children did at the tasks. But one other way, which is more accurate and more more accurate, is to look for also psychophysiological data. And one example is one of our studies that show by means of pupillometry, so which is the dilation of the pupil diameter of the eye pupil, which is a direct measure of cognitive effort. We show that in deaf children with cochlear implants, another group, but still deaf children with cochlear implants, they did the same. They had the same performances in quiet and noise, so just like in this case. But when we look at the pupillometric data, we see that their pupil dilated more in noisy condition than in quiet. And so we thought that maybe the issue is that this kind of children who are very well trained, they are followed by a team of speech therapists, and so they are already used to this kind of training and this kind of tasks. They are able to cope with background noise in a certain way, but they are putting a lot of effort in order to reach the same level that they reach in quiet condition. And so I need to remind you that this kind of task lasts like 30 minutes. And the issue is that if you want to see this in a more clinical and educational, from an educational point of view, we know that a typical school day lasts up to 5-6 hours. So if we think about it, we can imagine that at the first 1-2 hours in the morning, children are quite are rested, and they are able to follow everything, even if we have background noise. But with the passage of time, of course, their performance maybe will stay the same, but the effort will be higher and higher. And so they will they will reach the end of the day hyper tired, and they need to, like, all their cognitive resources will be needed to cope with noise. And so they will subtract it from what they have to do, so from learning, which is what we don't want to happen. So of course, the limitation, as I told you before, was of course a small sample size. We were talking about 12 children, deaf children. So of course we need to increase our sample size, and also we need to maybe adjust noise intensity and to use a different kind of noise in order to see if maybe the effects are different. And also it was a pity that we have to exclude reading span data, because this is the most difficult task among all the other games, because as I told you, it requires a double, it requires two things. Not only memorize and recalling, but also comprehension. And we think that this kind of test could be really sensitive to noise disruption. So we need to take care of that, and to in newer data collection, to also take into account this kind of test. And thank you for listening. And if you have any feedbacks, please contact us, apart from questions, of course, but feel free to contact us. And also here you have the link and the QR code of our website, which is the website of our project. So you can see the app and what we are thinking. It's in Italian, but I think we can, if you write us, we can, we will be happy to share with you our findings. Thank you.
Hi, Gaia.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question for you. I'm so happy to know that COE is going on. And so you say that from evidence that noise has an impact on deaf people, but with cochlear implant and also with prosthesis, other type of device. So my question is, what about including another sample of children with prosthesis, so you can assess difference between two different devices, considering for the same age of speech therapy? So you control for age, you control for speech therapy, so they are equal for all factors. So what is the impact of noise in children with prostheses, and what do you expect from this result?
Okay, so thank you. Hi. And yeah, I think this is a very good idea because we know that cochlear implants and prostheses, hearing aids are different. They function differently, and I think that what we could expect is to have more, maybe more, a more negative impact of noise in people with hearing aids. I think due to the device setting, because I'm not, of course, I'm not an expert, but I think I'm, from what I know, the implants, the prostheses, the hearing aids amplify what comes from the outside in a some sort of way. So also noise is amplified, while cochlear implants do not have the same processing. So they are more accurate in a sense, in this sense, in filtering this kind of noise. But also, for example, with cochlear implants, it depends also on the position of the microphone, because as you know that the cochlear implant, usually the microphone is on the back. And so, for example, if you're thinking about a child with cochlear implant in class that stays in the front row, and the microphone is maybe like can catch everything that comes from behind. So now we have it's, of course it's different, because we have implants and aids that have, like, you can give the microphone to the teacher, for example, and keep it to the here, so the voice is clearer and the noise is quite controlled. Or you can put it on the, if you have like a conference, you can put it on the table and the center. So or a restaurant, for example, you can put it on the table. So right now, fortunately, these kind of devices are going forward a better resolution, a better finding a better way to filter this kind of noise. But I think that we need to try. So we need to find this kind of sample, and of course to control for the speech therapist path, the like how many years they're trained, because yeah, early implantation is the key, but also if they are well trained, they are followed, they also by family, and also, like, you know that it's a team job. So yeah, thank you.
But will depend also by the level of deafness.
Yes, of course, because I didn't mention that, but our sample was quite homogeneous in terms of etiology. So they were like all profound deaf children with cochlear implants, usually bilateral cochlear implants. But of course, we know that if you have a mild deafness or if you have like a cochlear and an hearing aids on one side, it's different. So it's kind of tricky also to collect this data, to find this this sample, because it's not so easy. And
It's more difficult because children with prostheses has in general less level of deafness than people with cochlear implant. But I think that this could be an idea to compare two different approaches, two different consequences of noise impact. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Federica. If there is any other question from the audience, you can also use the chat if you don't want to put on your mic. In the meantime, I just wanted to thank Gaia for your presentation. That was very clear, very interesting study. Thank you for sharing this with us, Gaia. I'm going to ask you a few questions if no one else comes up. Please raise your hand. This is just, we are going to use the next 10 minutes maybe for discussion. Nadina, do you have any question? Oh, we have a question on the chat. I'm going to read it out loud for you. Is that okay, Gaia? Can you see the chat?
Yeah, it's not a question, but
it was a comment.
Yeah, but it's true that the overall aim of our project is to have some consequences at the educational level. So as Lucia was writing, is that yeah, the educational purpose is the last is our main goal to adapt, like to find also a different kind of noise that can have a different impact on children during learning, learning, so during school. And yeah.
There's a question from Imma.
Hi, Gaia.
Hi.
I mainly wanted just to say hello and congrats you and Barbara for this very nice work and the whole methodology that you are using, which I think is great and is very useful for this technology will be probably very useful for other researchers too, the paradigm that you are developing. And yeah, I connected late, so I probably missed some details I wanted to ask you. Regarding the digit span task, you said that, I think it's this one, is it? I didn't
Yeah.
hear. Okay, so I wonder if my question is, do you think that maybe the effect of this bubble noise would be different if the task was oral instead of visual?
Yeah.
And is it possible? It would be possible, technically speaking, to mix the bubble noise with the oral digit span task?
Yeah. Thank you, Inma. Yeah, actually, we think that, and we know actually from previous studies that when the digit span is administered orally, of course, it's more difficult because they need to understand speech in noise and to remember and recall numbers. We tried to use a visual digispan because we thought that we wanted to recreate the classic, the daily classroom condition, because we know that usually we have the listening part when teacher is speaking and is explaining everything, but we also have the part when they have to do the homework, the tasks, and there then can be noise. So we wanted to look for that, and so we added a visual digispan task. But yeah, of course we want to try, and we want to keep because it's the oral digispan is already part of our another previous work we are still conducting, so we need to to conclude the data collection on that one, and we will let you know. But from what we already know, of course, it has a more impact on the orally delivered. Has a more impact.
Anyway, it has. I mean, it's good news that children with typical and without typical hearing, maybe they can do this task visually.
Yeah.
So it may be a recommendation for classroom design, let's say, that they use this verbal task in a visual format, which I think is already a adaptation, no? In schools. And this data would be a support for that.
Yeah,
so how?
This is something we were thinking about, that the opposite, the bright side of our results is that they are able to cope with that. They are still able to do the task. Of course, not able to do like their hearing pairs, but it is something we know, and they will reach that at one point. It's not that they will always left will always left behind. It's just that they will reach that level maybe with a year of delay, but this is not what we wanted. And also that there isn't a significant difference on the other tasks, the attentional tasks. That is something very interesting. So that all children, whether they were typically developing or children with cochlear implants, that they were all able to finish the tasks in a quite a successful way, was really actually something good for us. This means that maybe since the noise, as I told before, was not so high, that could have been like quite similar maybe to what they are experience. So maybe they this could be like a sort of protecting effect. So in the sense that they are still able to at least finish and to succeed in the tasks. Even
and just the last question is, did you measure somehow, or is it possible to measure if they would really processing the noise? Because when you use, for example, headphones, the noise is filtered. You don't have all the richness of the real sound. So maybe the cochlear implant is not processing this type of sounds, or I don't know, this bubble sound is being filtered by the cochlear implants. I don't know. This is a physics thing. I don't know. Is it possible to measure it or not? You, as a hearing person, you can say, okay, I'm hearing the bubble noise, but if you were using this cochlear implant, would you be processing? Because maybe the noise didn't affect them because it was...
No, actually, we know that they were perceiving the noise also because we asked them, and also because from just like qualitative observation, we know that they were distressed by noise. So they were like something else, and they told us also at the end of the administration that the noise was bothering, but there wasn't like a sort of complete match between what they were reporting to us and what they reported on the questionnaire. So maybe it's what we think is that maybe the questionnaire isn't sensitive enough to understand, to
capture this.
yeah, to capture their annoying. Maybe it's in a way that the question, that the items are in a way that they're not so sensitive for children, but maybe they are for older children. So it could be, I don't know, but we know for sure that they were perceiving noise.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and Gaia, I was thinking maybe an interview with the child after they did the assessment, like an informal interview, to gather some qualitative data about this. Could that be useful, maybe?
Yeah, thank you.
And very quick question, because when I was looking at your preliminary data, you said they are preliminary, so just want to underline this, but we're looking at the rate of accuracy, is that correct?
At the, sorry?
Rate of accuracy, so whether they had that correct or not.
No,
Or,
they were the mean score.
yes, but the mean score was about the accuracy rate.
Yeah.
And so my question was, how about the time that it took to the child to complete this, the task? Was it different between all the conditions that you showed us, or did you manage to look into that?
Yeah, no, we didn't manage to look at it right now, but we have that kind of information because in the app also register the start time and the finishing time, and also, for example, we also are able to collect the mean response time for the digispan and for the inhibition tasks. So we still have to look through the data, but yeah, we know that time is also, time and accuracy are the two, like something we need to take care about, to look for.
Yeah, because it's possible that you didn't find any difference significant, but when you look at the time, you will have a different pictures there. So it could be interesting to see what happened there.
Yeah, thank you.
Gaia, sorry, I have another question, but by listening other, which type of noise other people use in their study?
I mean, it depends on the research question, because usually they use, lots of studies use the environmental noise like traffic, and some other studies like ours used verbal noise. But also among these studies, someone used like one talker, like just one people talking, okay? And so it's a verbal noise and you understand most of the conversation. Some other studies use a two talker conversation. So it's like you are doing the task and there are two people talking. Other studies use a four talker condition. So there are different kind of noises, a different kind of it depends on what you want to address, to look for.
Okay, because to explain your result, we need also to consider the type of noise, because I think that a verbal noise impact more a task that is verbal, because they are in competition.
Yes. Yeah.
And not with the visual attention test or other that are not typical verbal test.
Yeah. So. Yes, you are right. So the idea is to, with like next studies, to use a different kind of noise that has more like a verbal, like a speech component. So you are able to understand, for example, if it's in Italian, It's different if it's in English or if it's in a language that I don't know. So yeah, we will do that for sure, and we will add some parts when the child can actually understand what they are saying, because that will be distracting for verbal tasks, and also if we want to think also in tasks like reading or writing. So yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Gaia, we had one more question from the chat, and then I think that we will have to close this because it is 2 o'clock in the UK, 3 in Italy. So the question is, you need to scroll a bit up.
Yeah.
And the question is, yes, that one.
Yeah, I was wondering, how is the comparison between self-report questionnaire results in normal and noise condition between both groups? Okay, wait, I have to look.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so, okay, wait, let me take the presentation again, and I show you the, yeah, the data. Okay, so this one.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so you mean, I've talked about the difference for each group in noise, in quiet and noise. And you mean if there is a difference in quiet, for example, between the two groups, and in noise for the two groups, if I'm understanding well. Well, there were no significant differences, even though we can see, like from the mean score, we can see that there is a relevant, a meaningful, like mean difference only in noise, because if you see just in quiet, the two groups like reported the same kind of effort. So they were like same in quiet, while in noise there was a very large difference. And so this is what I was saying, that maybe maybe children, like maybe noise wasn't high enough for deaf users, so while was relevant for typically developing children. Yeah, I think that one that also the fact that deaf children are kind of used to it, while it was a very strange condition for typically developing children, could have brought this kind of difference. I don't know actually, but yeah, this is what we are thinking, that maybe the how they are used to noise, to be exposed to noise, since cochlear implant users are like constantly exposed to noise due to the implant itself. So yeah, maybe if I'm understanding right, yeah.
Hey, hello Gaia.
Hi.
Okay, I just want to give some comment and recommendation for the measurement, because usually when we conducting data collection using questionnaire, and we using something like Likert scale or intensity scale from 1 to 5 or 1 to 6, and if you do mean for the ordinal data, actually in statistics is not quite appropriate, and the mean itself cannot give comprehensive explanation about your data. So okay, I recommend you to do something like there is a lot of objective measurement, something like RAS scaling or the other measurement that give information in the item level and instrument level, because when you are using questionnaire and you use mean, the information is not quite accurate. It's
Okay.
just my recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that was great. Thank you everyone for joining to this final part of the discussion, and thank you again, Gaia, for starting our Brownback seminar series of this year.